So I'll get a socket and take that out later. Now, let's get the new brake pads, the new brake rotor rather. Let's go ahead and put that on. And that's, you can see this is the hole where the bracket goes. Alright, and these are the new Brembo brake rotors. Instructions inside tell you which goes to which because they are actually directional rotors. These also fit Chrysler Sebring, so that's probably why it has the other holes in there. And as you see, we have the 2 holes to move the rotor off in case we need to do that again if we ever replace these rotors. Alright, so new rotors installed. I know you're like, well, what locks that rotor in? Well, what's going to lock it in is your brake. So it's all really floating system, and your wheel pushes this on and everything later. So you can just let it hang there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to line up the shims right here. This is the back, and this goes on the back part of the shim. And so we're going to line up the shims with what I said, the EBC brake pads come with a liner, and this goes in between the shim and the brake pad so that when the caliper pushes down on it, it doesn't make a squeaking sound. So what I did is I just went on ahead, and the back one is small, got some scissors, I line it up like so, and then I just cut it to size as best as I can. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. So cut that to size, cut that to size. Alright, so we got that on there. Now let me move these in here. So now you have the brake pad, and you just line it up with where it goes on the brake pad. Once again, I'll take my gloves off to get this little strip of paper off so that the adhesive side is on the brake pad. So then I just lay it down on the brake pad, fit the shim over the top of that, and we're good to go. And as you can see, the surface is right under the shim and in between the brake pad. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. So, let's see. So this shim right here, the caliper really pretty much comes in contact with all of these parts out here. So what I did was I just pretty much lined it up with the farthest part that it gets lower on right here. So you lined up your edge, and you just make a little cut there. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So line up your edge and make a little cut there. Didn't make too big of a cut, but the impression I can still see. So I'm just gonna cut it there. And then it doesn't have to be perfect once again, but you just make a straight cut. And then you make another straight cut on this side. Okay, so straight cuts being made. So we're just gonna line up something like that and go down as far as that and just go across the rotor like that. So next thing I do is I go ahead and I fit this piece on, because I need to mark where on here that it needs to go. I'm just doing it with a pencil, doesn't really matter. Line it up with this mark, because that's where your caliper will be hitting it at. So I put a mark there, and then eye it, match it up there. And that's so I can just know where to put the ends of it. I don't need to trace it or anything like that. Mark right there, mark right there. So once again, take the adhesive part. I'm going to line up my marks. Alright, my marks are lined up. Take the second one. Line up my marks again. and you come back with something looking a little bit like that in the end. I like to go ahead and, just in case there's some contact in between, just fit the piece, the little extra piece of adhesive that I had, and just put a piece right in between. So. And once again, this adhesive comes with the EBC brakes. And it tells you, basically the same thing, cut off where the caliper comes to. Now, as you see, we have overhang on these and everything. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors and cut where we have the overhang. I'm just going to cut it as best I can. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you don't want too much hanging out like that. So you just want to cut those parts. Sorry about that. The camera actually ran out of batteries, but you saw basically the whole thing. All I was going to do is put the brake pads back in the way I took them out and everything else. So everything else is, you put the caliper back on, you put the brake pads back in, and you just put the wheel assembly back on, and you're good to go. The only other things you have is you have your wear-in process for your brakes. So that's basically, don't hit your brakes too hard so that you don't, needs time to wear in the new brake pads and everything. So just don't hit your brakes too hard, and everything else should be fine. If you have any questions, you can message me. If you're going to do it yourself, if you think you might need your brake pads replaced or something like that, then holler at me on Facebook, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.